Hey, you summoned a lesser maker. This week, we're gonna do something maybe a bit ridiculous. I wanted to make a Mordheim gingerbread house for Christmas this year, so we're gonna make this whole thing from scratch. And I thought it turned out pretty cool. Follow along, and I hope you enjoy. If you'd like to follow along with this recipe, you can screenshot it here. Basically, what you'll want to do is take all the dry ingredients and put that in its own separate bowl and mix it together. After that, you're going to take all the wet ingredients and mix that together. Now, I'm not the baker in the family, so I got my wife to help. I know you guys don't get to see my wife in my videos, but she's a huge reason why these videos even get made. She helps me stay accountable and get into the hobby room and make sure that I can get home and edit these videos every single week. Thank you to her. She was a big part of making 2024 the best year for this channel. After your wet ingredients and your dry ingredients are mixed separately, you want to kind of sneak up on mixing them together and gradually add milk with that. That way there aren't any flour clumps and the whole thing is mixed thoroughly. Make sure you're mixing the dry ingredients into the wet ingredient bowl and not the other way around. Lastly, you want to cut it into smaller sections and then bag it and let it chill overnight. My wife pulled these out of the fridge and then rolled these out into like 1/8-inch sheets. After that, it was my turn to get started. I didn't quite know how much texturing this gingerbread would take, so I got some basic hobby tools like an X-Acto knife. I got a rock for texturing. I also got my brick punch that I've made out of an old paintbrush. And I just kind of went to town and experimented with how much texture the gingerbread would take. And it took texture really well. After it baked, the texturing I did with the rock just didn't work. So I just set that aside and kind of didn't use that for the rest of the project. I was able to kind of make this three-dimensional by stacking the gingerbread on top of itself. And I was really happy with the results I was getting. I modeled this template off of a previous build, and I'll link that in the top right corner if you're interested in getting that template. I kind of did this by memory and I didn't print out a template because the shapes are relatively simple. I even modeled up a gingerbread man, and I went ahead and did some fine detail for the roof, sculpted in some shingles and everything. In the meantime, my wife was baking cookies for the rest of the family, and it was fun to kind of do this hobby with my wife and be able to hang out with her and not in isolation in my hobby room. Okay, so we have everything baked. I have to square off some edges to make sure that it will adhere pretty good and flat. We're just going to be using hot glue because who really is ever eating a gingerbread house? You don't need to use icing. My suggestion is just to use hot glue, even with those take-home kits that you get from like Target. I did make one big mistake that I just caught now. I made two of the same side, so I need to cut off this bottom part and move it over. Yeah, my bad. So let's just do that.
All right. So that's easy. Obviously, you can see hot glue is really good for this. So yeah, I have to square off some more edges, but other than that,
Gluing this together is pretty straightforward. I did cut certain edges of this just to make sure that there was a lot of surface area connecting the gingerbread together. The gingerbread is a really porous material, so the hot glue really filled those areas, and it was almost like an instant bond. When I could, I also went behind the glue joint on the inside of the building to reinforce it. And look how good the roof turned out. I did the roof last, and I really kind of found a groove for how well to texture it and kind of a good technique. I think if I were to do this again, it would look so much better. After that, I assembled my little gingerbread man, and I thought he looked really cool with his sword and shield. The last step was to do the icing. My wife made me a royal icing, and I just started piping on some wood grain. I couldn't quite decide whether I wanted to pipe in the plaster or pipe in the wood. I decided on the wood because it was already assembled. If I wanted to do the plaster, I probably should have done that while it was flat. But because I didn't carve in all the wood textures everywhere, I do think doing it like this kind of added to that timber framed building. I finished off by doing my gingerbread man, and unfortunately he didn't survive the night. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for a great 2024. If you wouldn't mind subscribing and helping me get to 5,000 subscribers, that would be really great. We're only like 30 away. So I really hope you have a very Merry Christmas, and I'm really looking forward to what 2025 brings. Have a good one.